What does Atari vintage games and arcade games have to do with Web3? We're going to unpack all of this and more with our very special host coming on today and really look at what is the future of gaming and how do we think about vintage games, things that I grew up on, the games that we all know and love, and their role to play in Web3, all in today's episode of Goats and the Metaverse. And of course, I'm joined by none other than my esteemed co host, Stanley, my man. We're almost at the last show for this year. It's been a journey, Stanley.
It's been a crazy year, my friend, and feel like things just continue to get crazier. Some breaking news earlier this morning: Yuga Labs announced a new CEO.
Yeah,
Um, the ex-president, or I guess the ex-COO and president of Activision
Activision.
Blizzard, which is responsible for Call of Duty. If that doesn't make you bullish about Yuga and Web3 and other side and everything in between, I don't know what does. Let's end the year on a high note. How you doing today, my friend?
I'm doing well, but if that doesn't get you excited, like you said, well, ApeCoin moved 0.6%. So this is the kind of market that we are in. It doesn't respond to any news, never mind good news. That's what we're looking at. ETH sitting strong still at 1183. Solana getting a little bit of price pressure, and ApeCoin $3.50, even at the back of this big announcement. The market is under pressure. What's happening in our world of NFTs? Let's have a look at that. Anything going on with the Bored Apes? No, even Bored Apes are down at this news. People not that excited about this new CEO coming on board, and most of the NFT market getting some downward pressure across the board. Only one seeing a little bit of love is Cool Cats, but Minor
Okay.
and World of Women's on a small upward trajectory. I saw a poll on if at current pricing, would you be holding a Clonex or buying a Clonex, a Zuki, or a Doodle? And Azuki came out tops out of the poll, 700 votes with 53% of the vote. Maybe it's just Azuki holders that are voting, but I thought that was a interesting sentiment from the market. Azuki still holding strong at over 10 ETH at 12.65 Ethereum.
Yeah, I was gonna say Cool Cats. That's a big number. I think they were like below two not too long ago. So, but I did see they won the contest for uh, the Thanksgiving Day Macy's parade for next year, featuring a Cool Cat.
Oh,
So I guess the community is still alive over there. They're quiet, but they're still alive. A lot of people
they're
voted for.
building.
So congrats to them. And not financial advice. Hashtag not financial advice. Do your own research. But I'm gonna say, with the year coming down to a close, and people doing some tax harvesting, there's gonna be some deals in the next week or two. So those of you that are playing the long term game or maybe the short term game, there's definitely going to be some opportunities, as I think people are going to be selling for a
I
loss and
agree.
back in, or just selling for a loss to help their tax situation. So I think there's going to be some opportunities to make a few dollars. So that's what I'm going to keep my eye open for. And I'm excited to talk to Tyler. What do we got? Some pretty cool stuff over there. You ready, Aussie?
I'm ready. So we are going to bring on our guest for today, none other than Tyler Bushnell, the CEO and co-founder at Polycade, interesting gaming company that is doing all things gaming, physicals, digitals, Web3, pretty exciting stuff. Tyler, welcome to the show. We'll dive into everything that's going on in your world. But first, how's your day going?
Awesome. Doing well. West Coast, so it's just getting started here, but with a 2-year-old, I wake up early.
Lucky you.
we all know what that means. Tyler, tell us a bit about your background and tell us about Polycade.
Yeah, totally. So I kind of grew up in the arcade industry. My dad was a key part of that industry, and so we used to go to trade shows since we were before the moment we could walk, essentially. And cool thing about trade shows, arcade trade shows in the 80s, is that it was way better than like Halloween or anything else. Like being a kid in the 80s running around like a bunch of free arcade machines, especially the crane machines that were like loaded up with candy and on free play, was super cool.
Super cool now.
Yeah, totally. But so that's where we got started. Worked for an arcade startup, one of the first like connected arcade machines in the early 2000s. Went on to build back-end ad software, and then sort of put those two experiences together to create Polycade, which we sort of came out of the gate aiming at the commercial arcade space. It's an area that hasn't really changed much since the 80s. People are still doing things the way they always did them. The machines themselves like have not really evolved. There's almost zero connectivity for most of them. So doing things like collecting analytics and being able to like push games and swap out games dynamically, all super new and fun stuff for that space. Timing was not ideal with the pandemic and whatnot. So during the pandemic, we put a little time into the residential side. So our arcade platform works for homes and businesses now. And then Web3 is something that we've always been really excited about, especially in like 2020 when it sort of became a target for consumers. We felt like that was the turning point for Web3.
So what is the consumer offering? What can someone with one of your devices do?
So our Web3 effort does not depend on our hardware products. We are releasing a series of games that they work with our hardware products, but you can also play them in like a regular web browser. So you don't need any of our hardware. Additionally, you can use like a keyboard to play the games, or you can use like a regular Xbox controller. So with that preface, we're releasing a series of limited edition video games. Now these use an NFT as the game license, and so we call that a digital cartridge because really it operates quite a lot like a physical cartridge for most intents and purposes, right? So you can play the game if you have the cartridge. You can sell the game just like a regular physical cartridge. Physical anything is limited edition by nature. Well, I guess that's not true because you can always produce more, but when in the case of physical cartridges, there's only so many that are produced, whether they're going to produce more or not. So these are limited edition, and because it's on blockchain, people can verify how many exist. But so that's kind of the overview. The way that we're using this is by taking classic Atari titles and working with contemporary artists to reskin all of the artwork in the game. So it's a fully playable edition of Asteroids with all of the artwork done by Chantel Martin, who's
That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
So the entire game is redesigned by the artist, not just the kind of like cover.
Precisely, yeah. So the gameplay plays pretty much like the original, small, teeny tiny adjustments in there, and then and all of the artwork was done by Chantel.
So if I'm looking to purchase this NFT, right? It gives me just so I can understand this, wrap my head around it. It's an access pass for me now to have ownership of this game. But is the game actual physical? It is physical, right? You need to have the actual box in order to play it, or it could be played online and
Correct.
I still have access. Or is it
Yeah.
both though? Do you get it? both physical and
Correct.
online? No.
So you don't get a physical copy of the game, but the NFT itself is the copy of the game. So
Right.
if you hold the NFT, you log in on our website, you can access the game. Also, if you hold the NFT and you log in on any of our arcade machines, which you can log in by scanning a QR code on screen. So if you log into any of our arcade machines, the game will show up and be playable for you there. Now, this includes arcade machines that are in bars and restaurants and like other public places.
So if you hold the game cartridge, the digital game cartridge, you can play this on your website. If you're at any location that has a Polycade arcade, you can load up your cartridge at the arcade and play the game that you own by scanning the QR code. Is that then authenticating with your wallet to be able to say that you own the game cartridge? How does that work?
Yeah, exactly. That happens on our back end. We will also be implementing, we're planning on implementing one of these services that allows you to still keep your tokens in a ledger and
okay. So I could buy a game cartridge and play the games. I've also got the option to buy a actual arcade machine. As we just before the show, you previewed a new version that's coming out that looks pretty cool. Let's put that up there and tell us about what this is and what does it come with, and why people should be excited about putting this in their home.
Totally. So this is our newest arcade machine model. This is a fully functional arcade machine. It's got a mini PC inside, so you can even play like Street Fighter V and Mortal Kombat 11 on this. We designed it sort of in tandem with this NFT project because we wanted like a very showcase way to display these like art games. And part of this project really comes also from sort of like a personal thing where like I feel like art and video games have not really crossed over. Like video games are art for sure, but you haven't really seen video games used as a medium for traditional artists. And so that was one of the things that we wanted to kind of mash together and make happen, right? Like art first video games, if you will. And so this physical arcade machine sort of serves as your like infinite objects for an interactive NFT.
So is there a kind of, from a technology standpoint of view, and maybe I'm going a little forward here, but I'm assuming if I own your NFT and down the line there's some sort of partnership between you and some sort of gaming company or new game that's coming out, I might be able to have access to that game before anybody else because you guys have that partnership with, call it the other side or whatever it might be. Is that kind of the goal or long-term goal?
So a goal similar to that. I mean, we will be using this as like an access pass for future drops. So this is the first of 12 releases like this. And so we're going to be doing 12 different games with Atari and artists. So that this will get you into those future releases on the as an early access. Also, kind of coming back to a little more of what you're saying, we are integrating with like metaverses and other console platforms. So we'll probably be enabling these games to work on your Atari VCS in not too long. Something we've already discussed and have slated for January is with the Pixels Metaverse, pixels.online. They're releasing a new side of that with another outfit called Gridcraft and New Cyber. New Cyber has apartment buildings that you can own. Those are NFTs. And so what we're going to be enabling is if you hold one of our digital cartridges, and an apartment in the Pixels Metaverse, then you'll be able to deploy an arcade machine of this game in your apartment, and then your friends
Cool.
and otherwise can access it. Something else that came up is the idea that they could also charge people to play that machine. And so we're probably going to add that in.
I mean, I think at least like you describing this, and like I think a cool component of that is how technology has transformed, right? Like I used to, as a kid, love playing these video games and whatever they were, 25 cents or 50 cents. And it was kind of like, you know, that's all like you had to play, right? There was like 3 or 4 machines, and like you picked the 1 or 2 you liked the best, and that's where you kind of spent your money. I used to play Tron, Frogger, Street Fighter.
Tekken, man.
I remember that was like yesterday. But I think the craziest thing is that, like, you know, you buy this NFT and now you have you have the exclusive rights to go to a bar that has your machine or whatever it is, a laundromat, and play this game that only you could play, or only, you know, a certain amount of people could play. And I mean, if you're a single guy or girl and you're at a bar and you're going to come up to somebody and say, I'm going to show you the coolest thing you'll ever see. I'm going to come up to this machine and I could play a game that I could play and you can't play. That's like you know, like
good pickup line.
Or Bumble, some sort of partnership there, because that's that's an automatic, you know, impressive,
Yeah, you know, it's funny.
Go ahead, Tyler.
So I was just going to say, one of the things we've noticed just from watching our machines out in the field is it's typically couples that are coming up and playing. You know, so
that
yeah,
it's a
quick little flex to show, like, I can reveal something that otherwise can't be shown on this.
Well, what we're seeing as well is that the kind of power of an NFT, we've seen it go from, you know, we talk about it not being just a JPEG, you know, just a picture on the internet that someone can copy and go, well, now I've got your NFT. What we're saying here, this is a full cartridge. This is a game. This is a piece of software that you're owning and that you can then decide what to do. And when it is digitized, it gives you all of this type of flexibility. You could load a custom game at an arcade that has one of your devices. It could be entrance into a festival that anyone who holds the you know, Asteroids game that you guys have created could go to a certain music concert or into a art exhibit, etc. So that type of stuff that we're seeing being enabled by this type of technology is what really excites me about what you can do here. And then what you said, you know, you can take, if you hold land in a metaverse world, you can take our credit, you can take our token, and now you can have a virtual arcade in your apartment that people can play, and potentially you can rent it out and charge people their 20 cents in virtual currency. So it's just the whole world is changing in what can be experienced all through this technology. And this is why we have this show. We talk about the changes in technology that is happening here because it's so powerful, and we're only really starting to see what can be done with this in this way. So pretty excited about what you guys are building.
Awesome, thanks. And to kind of like everything you just said is essentially things that we're planning. You know, since this is the first of 12, we're planning several gallery events in the future where we'll have like these games on display in a gallery, and some of the artists there to meet and greet. And this will be an accessed event. You have to hold one of the cartridges in order to attend. Additionally, you know, we have a lot of physical products, everything from game controllers to arcade machines. And one of the holding a digital cartridge gets you 10% off from all of our physical products. So, and in all cases, or almost all cases, that's less than the cost of the cartridge.
Where do people find out more, and what's in store? What should they know about? Any particular dates that they should be aware of?
Yeah, totally. So Polycade.ltd is where we're putting all of these efforts here. You can also check the Polycade on Twitter. We've got a link tree there with all the links. We are funny thing. We totally botched our drop. We're like hardware and software people and not used to hype mechanics and such. So we did a release on the weekend. We like had this stupid phased like release where only certain people got access at certain times, which just made it look like none of our like cartridges were selling. So what we're going to be doing is, and I also actually think we missed the price point on this. We were pricing this around where like an artist print lies, which is 150 to 200 bucks, around 150 to 250. But I think most people were looking at this more like a video game than a piece of art, even though it's both. So we're going to be bringing the price down to around $50 and increasing the supply as well. So everyone who bought before that mark in the sand, which is going to be in this week, I believe, will be getting a special edition of Asteroids done by a different artist. And so that will be limited to however many we sell before that mark in the sand a couple of days from now. Once we re-release in January, the less expensive product will be right in that $50 zone. And off to the races. So keep an eye out for that. Either grab your copy now and get the special edition that will only be available to those people, or jump in early January when we do the re-release.
So for $50, and how many releases are there total? Like what is this? What is
there will be? It gets you one cartridge. So in this case, Asteroids by Chantel Martin. And then, but keep in mind also that gets you 10% off all of our physical products. So for any of our arcade machines, which the cheapest one will be is that arcade, the frame that we showed previously. That one's marked at 2,200. So one of these cartridges gets you a little over $200 off that machine.
Nice.
And then we have like $40 game cartridges, so you get $4 back from one of those. One other thing worth mentioning, our cartridges, so most NFT projects randomize at the outset, and you get a bunch of random attributes attached to your NFT that never change, right? In this case, with our cartridges, so we're introducing some random attributes actually in the re-release. Currently, there are none. But as you play your game, we record basic gameplay stats, things like how many plays you've done, what your highest score on this cartridge is, what your longest gameplay round is, right? So all these basic gameplay stats are recorded on your cartridge, and that is your metadata. So when you go into OpenSea and you look at your attributes on your cartridge, it is the sort of basic data associated to your gameplay. As you continue playing your cartridge, it's going to start to get a little worn, and like the label, maybe bent a little bit. Maybe someone scratched their initials into the back of the cartridge. So it sort of evolves as you interact with it. One key moment of the evolution, by the way, is your first gameplay. So we saw that unboxing video. That happens the first time you play your game. So your NFT at the outset is a boxed copy of the game. It's just like the old Atari boxes. When you play it the first time, it will unbox, and then your NFT will be the cartridge from there on forward. Also important about that unboxing, that's where the randomizer happens. So I mentioned we're going to be introducing some random aspects moving forward on the re-release. Those random aspects happen at the unboxing. So you can have a boxed copy that hasn't been revealed yet, essentially. And then the first time you play it, those attributes reveal.
I mean, I love that you're putting the collector's mentality into this and kind of having people do a little bit due diligence or thought process as far as which copy am I buying and why does it matter, right? I mean, I think that's like, I mean, nowadays video games are collectibles, right? And unboxed video game sells for millions of dollars, or at least it did in its peak time during the pandemic. So, and I think playing off to the collector's mentality is smart. And also, I mean, this is to me a completely nostalgia play.
Yeah.
I kind of want to buy a machine now, even though I'm probably never going to play it. But definitely something that's intriguing from the perspective of bringing me back to when things were a lot more simple.
Nice, yeah, and one of our sort of hopes, and one thing that we're aiming to engineer about that evolving metadata is that like a very like a cartridge that has hit a lot of milestones and achievements would potentially be more valuable than say a boxed copy.
That'll change. That'll completely kind of like change the way you think about collecting games, because box copies today are what are value, but here we can have famous Twitch player played all these games, got to higher score. This is the cartridge that you can see has been battle tested from day one, and will that have more collectability? Interesting to see. A completely new way to think about how digital assets are collected relative to physicals, which I love. So lots of experiments happening here in the world of Polycade. If you want to find out more, go to polycade.ltd. You can buy one of these classic games done in collaboration with an artist, get you a discount to a pretty cool device. If you want to have an arcade in your house or in your office, I know I'm eyeing that out. So Tyler, thank you for your time and coming onto the show. Excited to see what you guys build, and we'll continue to keep track of it.
One more thing I'll add at the end here. Our next game that will be released is Centipede by Buff Monster. So that'll be a fun contrast to Chantel's work as well.
That's awesome, man. We wish you lots of luck with the journey. And like I said, I think just here's another example of how utilizing Web3 and bringing, at least to me, nostalgia, right? The bringing the little kid back and saying, here you could own a game, and connecting the physical and the digital. Very well done. Kudos to you. We'll keep an eye out for what happens with Polycade, and we wish you the best of luck. Hope you guys enjoyed the show, and we'll see everybody later this week. Happy trading, everybody.